I want to talk about the paradox of pushing yourself and not trying hard enough. Trying too hard, not trying hard enough. Both can be true, even at the same time in a way. But more often than not, it's one or the other, right? And I think either of those extremes can be a problem. And for me, it's important to remember that because I am prone to go to extremes in all aspects of my life. And when it comes to trying, I get accused of trying too hard fairly often. And I know what people are talking about. I make things harder than they have to be. I try so hard that it makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes I hurt my own body significantly, like literally pushing past the point that my body can handle it. And so there's a lot of truth to that idea of trying too hard and making things harder than they have to be. I live in that arena a lot. And there's also a lot of truth to the use it or lose it kind of theory, and that we are much, much stronger than we think we are, and our bodies are much more capable of doing more than we think they are if we hold ourselves to a higher standard. And there are just countless examples throughout human history of people doing things that everybody else told them they couldn't, or that was thought to be impossible until they did that, right? So I think it's really important to not allow ourselves to be held back by that thought that we shouldn't try too hard or that we might be trying too hard. And allow ourselves to not push as hard as we can, really, on some level. And I think we all find our balance on that scale, right? As I mentioned, I tend to be a person of extremes, and I actually explore both extreme ends of that spectrum. And then I know people who stay in a much narrower range of that spectrum. I tend to be a person that I've been known to say that you can't know how fast is too fast to go over the speed hump until you catch some air or you wreck the bottom of your car. And that's just one of many analogies or actual literal examples of how I sometimes live my life. But that's not for everybody. I'm aware of that. There's about maybe 10% to 1% of any given group, humanity at large, that can be on that leading edge or that fringe or frayed edge. And it works out perfectly because we need that in a society. But if all of us do that, the whole thing falls apart. Similarly, though, if all of us conform and never push the edges and stay, in a narrower spectrum of capacity, then we're spiraling toward that lowest common denominator, which is where I feel like at least the American society is right now. My fellow Americans have lost a lot of courage and a lot of curiosity lately and have been programmed towards fear and hate and disempowerment. I'm going to stop going on about that, though, because that's a topic for a whole nother series. What I really just want to begin and end on is this idea of both, not either or, but both and holding a paradox is, in fact, a well-known criteria for intelligence, actually. So I encourage us all to stop thinking so black and white and so compartmentalized and recognize that we are being manipulated. Our attention is being hijacked, whether it's conscious or unconscious. We could talk about that another time, but that it's happening seems very obvious to me. And so the counter move to that, as far as I can see, is to remember who we are, to remember what it means to be intelligent, what it means to be present, and what it means to think for ourselves, what it means to be curious, what it means to be courageous, what it means to communicate. All these are questions I would like us to contemplate more. And that's a lot of great C words, isn't it? Be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, check out my book on YouTube. On YouTube? No. on Amazon. You can find it on YouTube too, but this book is about this mega sculpture that you see around me. It's called the Head Hutt Mega-Sculpture, and I built it myself with these two hands. And then I wrote a book about how and why I did that. So if you're interested, you can find that on Amazon. You can find a link to that down below, as well as some other links. I hope that you enjoy a fantastic day. Thanks for being you. Thanks for letting me be me. Stay free.